Hello and good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Science TV News. With me, Elvis Odhiambo, and our sign language interpreter is Wanjangede. And on to our first news item. The Ministry of Education has come under sharp criticism for failing to fully implement the government's free secondary education funding policy. According to the approved national budget, each secondary school student is entitled to an annual capitation of 22,244. However, the ministry now says schools will only receive 16,900 per student, citing budget constraints and an increase in student enrollment. The shortfall has sparked nationwide uproar, with many stakeholders questioning the government's commitment to free education. Members of the Parliament have voiced strong concerns, accusing both the Ministry of Education and National Treasury of misleading the public and eroding trust in the education system. In response, the government has denied any plans to suspend the free education program, stating that the reduced capitation is temporary adjustment due to fiscal pressures. The ministry insists that despite the funding cut, efforts are being made to ensure learning continues uninterrupted in all public secondary schools.
It does not mean that we have moved from the 22,244 to the 16,900. It just means we have not been able to reach the 22,244 per student because of financial limitation. You divide that amount with the number of students you have. And the number of students has been going up every year. Yeah, but the figure has not been moving up to match that number.
The policy on free primary and secondary education has not changed. The government will continue financing education through capitation as it has been over the years.
Why can't the ministry be bold and tell the schools that they should not budget for 22,000 and they budget either of 17 or 15,000? Because our schools are closing down.
This is the dawning reality that we now go back as members of parliament and in the next supplementary budget bridge the gap between 16,900 to 22,000 shillings so that you issue a circular that is proper.
Mambo ya free basic education. We are not begging from anyone. We are demanding that it must continue.
Tulisema tunataka elimu ya bure kuanzia primary hadi secondary hadi mpaka chuo kikuu. Sasa tunasema elimu ya secondary ni lazima.
And on to our next news. ODM party leader Raila Odinga has defended Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, asserting that he remains the official spokesperson of the party and is free to express his opinions, its position. Odinga emphasized that Sifuna's recent comments should not be misinterpreted as personal opinions, but rather reflective of ODM's official stand. Speaking during the ODM delegates convention held in Kakamega County on Friday, Odinga moved to ease growing tensions following Sifuna's bold declaration that the memorandum of understanding between ODM and the ruling UDA party was no longer in effect. The statement had sparked political jitters and speculation about the status of the bipartisan cooperation. Odinga's remarks were seen as an attempt to reaffirm the party's internal unity and settle confusion over its stance with the current political environment.
Na kama aridhiki na baba si atoke. Point number 8 inasema fight against corruption. Sasa Sifuna aweke signature ya fight against corruption, alafu yeye anyamaze corruption ikifanywa.
Jambo ambalo tunataka baba afuatilizie ni ile MOU ambayo alitia sahihi na William Samoei Ruto. Na mimi nashukuru sana ile demokrasia ambayo iko kwa chama.
Sisi kama chama hakuna siku tumekaa na tukasema ati mtu mwingine 10 bila break.
Nikasema, why is this young man contradicting the party leader? Kumbe sikujua ni nyinyi mko nyuma ya Sifu. Nyinyi ni shenzi sa.
Hata wewe kama una maneno ya kusema unaweza itwa huko useme mambo yako. Enda pia wewe ujieleze. Kama hauna namba ya Ivono Kwara sema saa hii nikupatie. Hao watu akiwemo huyu baba Raila Amolo Odinga, siku ile wataniambia Sifuna, sasa wewe umeanza kuwa na maadili tofauti na chama, nitawaachilia hii kiti bila fujo.
Kama Sifuna ameongea, ako na haki ya kuongea. Mimi sijasema ati mimi usiongee kwa chama namna hii. Sema hata kama unaona baba unafanya makosa, sema. Ndio ni mauti za chama.
Na baba amesema tuko pamoja na President William Ruto, na wewe unasema kinyume. Basi wewe huzungumzi kwa niaba ya chama cha ODM.
And moving on, thousands of bright, needy students are staring at an uncertain future as poverty threatens to derail their academic dreams. In Kisii County, a top-performing student who scored an A in the 2024 KCSE exam risks missing out on university admission due to lack of fees. The situation in Nyamira County, where several high-achieving students are stranded at home, unable to raise the required tuition and upkeep for university. Despite their outstanding results, many are at risk of losing their chance to pursue higher education. Parents, leaders, and education stakeholders are calling for urgent intervention from the government and well-wishers. They warn that unless immediate support is provided, the country may lose a generation of talented youth simply because they cannot afford to continue their studies.
Kuna uwezo kabisa, hata hatuna kitu ya kuuza kabisa. So naomba serikali iweze kunisaidia niweze kutimiza ndoto zangu.
Sina mbele, sina nyuma. Sina mbele, sina kitu chochote. Huyu kijana asome, akuje ajisaidie, akisaidia na mimi atanisaidia.
Ako na A- ya 75. Anaenda kufanya Bachelor of Law. Sasa ndio tumeangalia vile mumeangalia Ipoma. Babake ni mgonjwa. Ako na ugonjwa wa akili. Tusaidie mtoto.
Niko na fee ya 117,000. Sasa hiyo sioni kama wazazi wangu wanaweza pata, maana sometimes huwa hatupati hata chakula. Na kuna watoto wengine wadogo ambao wanahitaji pia kulipiwa karo.
Principal akamkubalia akiendelea na masomo. Lakini saa hii vile niko na watoto wengine vile kwa kuwalipia. Niko na watoto 4 na darasa.
Muda mwingi mambo na chakula, natamani kupiga simu nyumbani na kwa vigumu sababu wazazi hawana kabisa.
And on to our next news. The university's academic staff union has issued a 2-week ultimatum to the government demanding an immediate reversal of the closure of satellite campuses, a halt to looming staff retrenchments, and a prompt release of HELB funds. Failure to act, they warn, will lead to a total shutdown of public universities. The crisis in higher education is deepening. Lecturers are increasingly agitated. Students are financially strained due to the delayed loans, and institutions are struggling to stay afloat under mounting pressure. Observers now fear that the collapse of Kenya's higher education sector is no longer a distant threat. It is a process already in motion.
Can you imagine that you can retrench or lay off learned people? Withdraw that statement forthwith. The government must fund university education fully and adequately.
We want to say that we want our help disbursed into accounts. Comrades, power. A church cannot be built, yet we are suffering. We will not and we cannot allow our students to suffer due to lack of our primary issues like help. Comrades, power.
If we want to be fair, from the rich to the poor, let education be free, because there are a lot of people who cannot really afford this.
If you don't release the help and scholarship for last academic year, get it from me, there will be no learning in public universities in Kenya. We are the ones who control agencies. We will release them to you if you are joking. We will release those agencies in the 40 public universities.
Kama wanataka kwamba kuwe na uwiano, wacha wahusishe union kikamilifu, tujadiliane, kwa sababu vile maisha iko sahihi haiwezi kuwa mzuri ati mimi niko grade 10 alafu wanatengeza document nishukishe grade 9 ama 8.
If you don't sign our CBA in the next 2 weeks, prepare for the strike.
As debts pile, staff
And on to our next news. The East African region was in uproar following the arrest of and alleged sexual assault of Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi and Ugandan activist Agatha Atuhaire in Tanzania. The two were reportedly detained while participating in civic engagements, sparking condemnation from human rights groups across the region. Meanwhile, concern is mounting over the disappearance of another Kenyan activist, Mwabili Mwagodi, who has been missing for 3 days. Mwagodi, known for criticizing the Kenya Kwanza administration, was allegedly abducted and suspected security officers on Wednesday night while heading to his hotel in Kigamboni, Dar es Salaam. These developments have raised alarm over the shrinking space for civil society in East Africa. Human rights defenders are calling for the immediate release of detained activists and transparent probe into the allegations and guarantees for safety and for all civic actors.
Walikutana na gari lililowazuia na wakampatia hela zake, wakamwambia nenda na usitazame nyuma, na hapo ndio mwisho Mwabili alionekana. So, wasiwasi wetu ni kwa kina nani hawa ambao walimchukua kati ya Cheka na Kigamboni, na mbona hadi sasa hajaonekana.
Watu wasiojulikana lakini wanaaminika kwamba ni maskari wamekuwa kimtembelea huko Tanzania mahali anafanya kazi, kujifanya kwamba wamekuja kulala, lakini wanalazimisha kumuona yeye.
2024 in October, my parents received visitors who identified themselves as DCI, and they warned them that he should cool off matters the Gen Z protests. and take care of his family. Failure to which, to quote my parents, that mama ambieni mtoto msije mkaweka hema hapa. Those who are holding him out there know that we know, and that they will be held accountable. Sure. Justice has to be served.
Na tunataka serikali ya Kenya haraka iwezekanavyo ifunge ubalozi wa Tanzania hapa nchini Kenya, kwa sababu nchi ya Tanzania inaendelea kukiuka mkataba wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki.
And moving on, 5 police officers are nursing injuries following violent clashes between residents of Kiamaiko and Kariobangi in Nairobi. The violence broke out after a group of Kiamaiko allegedly stabbed an officer who was attempting to free a suspect arrested for drug possession. The chaos intensified when the mob tried to touch Huruma police station. After being blocked by police, the group turned violent, attacking pedestrians along the outer ring road and engaging officers in running battles. The gang later stormed into Kariobangi, where they looted shops and set several homes on fire. Police have since been deployed to restore order as investigations continue. Authorities have condemned the attacks and urged residents to remain calm, warning that those found responsible will be brought to justice.
They were not able to rescue one of their own. They started fighting the police. That is the time we came in, we sought reinforcement, and we were able to repulse them. So they resorted to come and disturb Outer Ring Road. They started blocking the road, removing carpentries from the lorries, so the road was not passable.
Wakamobiliziana wakakuja Kariobangi. Wametuchomea manyumba, wametuchomea biashara, wameibia watu. Sasa hizi ukiangalia Kariobangi mambo imesimama.
Sina nguo, vitu zangu zimebebwa. Vitu zilichukuliwa kwa nyumba. Anya nimebaki nao ndio hivi, unaona?
Yesterday wakati tundu natoka hivi kwa nyumba, kidogo ninapata watu na mapanga wamenipata. So in the way of self defense, kuweka tu hivi mikono wamenikata. Kuna watu wengine pia wamekuwa huko hospitali, Mama Margaret, na wabahatishi. Now is this the peace that we want?
It came worse in the evening because all the teams, there were many. Some were wielding bangers, some were wielding bedling stones. Sustained injuries. That is OCS from Ruaraka, who were supporting, and OCS Kariobangi, and this team. In fact, OCS Kariobangi was seriously injured.
Had prepared for you at the Science TV. Thank you for staying tuned. My name is Elvis Odhiambo, and our sign language interpreter is Wanjangede. Enjoy your lunch. Will join us for Sports City at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Have a good afternoon.